Watkins from Your Black World, and I just came in. I did this morning thing with CNN, and just so you know, I mean, I consider it an honor to go on CNN. I like doing stuff like that. But the hard part is that it takes so much time. In case you're wondering, there's like all this time that it takes to get to the studio and sit you in your chair, and as you can see, I still have that makeup on they put on, and it's such a time eater, which is one of the reasons why I do it, for various reasons. But honestly, I what I enjoy the most is when I get a chance to just talk in this space, particularly with Your Black World, because that's when I feel like I get a chance to speak directly to my people in an authentic way, and in a way that is not filtered, where the conversation is not controlled by other people. I think it's very, very important that African Americans use technology to increase our access to media, because that's how we increase our access to knowledge and information, and truth. So that's one of the reasons why I actually enjoy this far more than I enjoy anything I do in networks. In fact, I turn down about 99% of the interview requests that I get because I don't have a lot of time to do stuff like that. But anyway, so today we were talking about Eric Garner. And one of the things I wanted to talk to kind of hit on a little bit with the Eric Garner situation, and this is one of the points here in terms of explaining why his death was such a tragedy. Um, it, if you really want to understand the Garner thing, I think you have to look at the root of all of this. And the root, what I mean by the root is, um, there's not a chance of anybody dying from a police interaction if there is no police interaction. And you have to ask yourself, why were four officers confronting Eric Garner, and trying to take him down and put him in this chokehold that caused him to not be able to breathe, which ultimately ended his life? Why did these chain of events come to existence in the first place? What was the seed? What, he was selling illegal cigarettes, allegedly. There's not even proof that he was doing that, but let's assume he was selling individual cigarettes. Is that really worth all the money in police resources? Is that worth the time of an officer who could be solving real crime, rape, murder, all the other things that are going on in our society? Who's really hurt if a man is selling a couple of individual cigarettes that he paid for already? If Eric Garner were a rich white guy on Wall Street and he was selling individual cigarettes, would the police consider that a serious offense, or would a cop pretty much be laughed at by saying, "Look, I brought in this Wall Street executive because he offered to sell me a cigarette"? And I think that is one of the key thoughts that I have when I look at this situation, because and this is the danger of racial profiling, is that you have a large segment of society that is in danger of police brutality or police death, or death at the hands of a cop, because they have more interactions with cops. The more you interact with cops, the more likely you are to have a bad interaction with cops, and young black men especially are most vulnerable to having the most interactions with cops. You'll hear a lot of guys that'll say, "Yeah, the cops always harass me every time I go to the such and such," or "I get stopped by the police, 4 times a month, 5 times a month, just walking down the street." Well, those interactions, what that does is that creates a zone, that creates a cage within which your behavior has to be monitored and modified, right? And if you step outside of that cage, then that suddenly allows the police to feel justified to do whatever the law allows them to do to bring the situation back under control, which might mean slamming you, hitting you in the face, putting handcuffs on you, whatever. And so that really is the key issue. You've got in New York, and I brought this up on CNN today, I'll bring it up now. You've got tens of thousands of young black men, especially, who are in Rikers Island right now for minor weed possession. Having a little bag of weed. Lives are ruined. They've been in prison. They've dealt with torture, continuous torture. Many of them have been raped. Maybe catching diseases in the process. Most of them are marginalized from society for the rest of their lives because they now have a criminal record. Many of them are traumatized over a very minor offense, over the kind of thing that that thousands of college students do every single day, and will never be harassed by police. You will never see a police raid on almost any college campus in America. When I was at Syracuse University, and when I taught at University of Kentucky, and when I taught at Indiana University, I saw situations where I said, my God, these kids are getting away with some of the most heinous crimes imaginable, and no one will challenge this because nobody's going to go and harass and stop and frisk a college student on his way to the dorm. And I think that is the fundamental difference that we're looking at in our society that leads us to these situations where black men are dying in scenarios that didn't even have to exist in the first place. So the best way to avoid death from a police interaction is to minimize the police interactions. It doesn't mean you let crime go, but if a man is selling individualized cigarettes, who gives a damn? Who's really being hurt by that other than a corporation who only makes $1 billion instead of $1.5 billion? I'm sorry, and so I think that's really the root of all this. That was what I wanted to share with you. I appreciate your support and and everything that we do. Sometimes I say stuff that you're probably not going to like or agree with, but then again, if you agree with everything that I say, that means you're not thinking about it hard enough. So my goal is not to tell you what to think. My goal is to encourage you to think for yourself. Well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.